Okay, welcome back to the Valley today. It's Public Safety Friday, and our very special guest today is Randolph Mantooth from the 1970s hit series Emergency. Randy, again, thank you for being here with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, we were talking about public awareness when it comes to EMS and what have you, and that's the next thing that I want to come to is with the general public, you know, being one of the links in EMS, if not the most important link. What points should we try to get across to them, and how can we keep the public involved in these issues and take from them as well?
Well, you know, I wish I could really answer that question and be very bright about it. That's a tough question, and I don't really know that there is an answer to it.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that it has to be done, or it certainly should be done. You know, how you go about doing that is how do you spark an interest in something that most people would like to avoid even talking about. Nobody wants to talk about disasters and the fact that you know, they could be involved in a disaster. It's not just disasters. As we know, with the aging of our population, EMS and paramedics and EMTs, they're more and more finding that they're basically doing what the old country doctor used to do, and that's house calls. And man, does that overwhelm a system pretty quickly.
Right.
People, you know, some of our poorest neighbors are in a place where the only medical attention they really do receive is from a paramedic or an EMT. Because they can't afford to go to see a doctor, or they or they just the hospitals are so overwhelmed that they have to wait for sometimes hours and hours and hours just to see an ER doctor, and all of a sudden it falls right into the laps of the EMTs and the paramedics that are out there.
Right.
Again, how you get the public to recognize this, it's daunting. I don't know the answer to the question.
Right. Well, what you excuse me, you touched on when your answer. That's where I retired from. Basically, is how it was. I retired from the District of Columbia, and you had a population that a lot of them couldn't pay. That you were their only care.
Right.
And it would actually swamp the facilities. Now,
and then when there's, like a car accident, somebody's got to wait.
Exactly. Now, over the years, EMS, like when I first started and when you started with the series, it was, I hate to use the term swoop and scoop, but that's basically that's basically what it was. You get there, you swoop them up, and you go on to the hospital.
Yeah.
How have you seen this change over the years, and what do you think of all the advancements and what have you that are going on?
Well, I saw a great change, but now I'm beginning to see it change back to the scoop and run, and it's a mentality that America has to get out of. Here's what I see as the major problem. Is I don't see any cohesion. I travel, I speak maybe 20, 22 times a year in every state in the United States. I go and I talk to fire-based EMS, I talk to hospital-based EMS, talk to firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, and I see systems all over the country. Mm-hmm. And I see that most of them work pretty well. Some of them don't work as well.
Right.
But I see no cohesion. For the most part, we're all following the same protocols. I know that. Mm-hmm. But some people just don't have the resources that some of the rural areas, rural states, don't have the resources that some of the big cities do because they have a higher tax base.
Right.
So they have to make their system work. Well, they do, sort of, but there are times when they're just ill-equipped. Mm-hmm. And I think my concern is that I don't see a cohesion. Like I see with firefighters, I see a cohesion there because of the traditions they've had.
Right.
They have. But they've been in business for over 200 years in this country.
Right. We're still infants.
Right. Exactly. 30 years old.
Right.
And it's so fragmented and so patchwork in different states. You go to West Virginia, it's totally different than it is in Virginia.
Right.
If you go to South Dakota, it's totally different than Minnesota. And when I see all this patchwork, I don't see a cohesion there. Here these guys are working long hours for very little pay.
Right.
That really kind of messes with my mind. We'll pay a lot of money to protect our property, and yet we balk at somebody trying to protect your body, trying to protect your health. I don't know. That's kind of mixed up with for me. To me, let my property go. I think I'd like to have my body taken care of.
Right. We only have one of those.
That's right. That's right. You know, we got to take care of our body. It's the only place we have to live.
Right. Health insurance doesn't buy you a new body.
Exactly. And so when I see the allocation of money, I just don't find it justifiable. So when I see all this patchwork system and this lack of cohesion on a national basis, it's frustrating. You know, and now I'm kind of stepping into an area that gets real political, and I could really get into a lot of trouble. And here's where there's this big argument: is it going? We need to have a national base, a protocol that everybody follows. But is it going to be fire-based EMS or is it going to be hospital-based EMS?
Right.
A lot of people say, "Hey, we can't afford the taxes."
True.
Okay, well then you get into the hospital-based EMS, and now you're paying for the services on an individual basis.
Right.
No matter what you do, you're going to pay. And our health system today this all belongs in the same category. It's all our health, whether you've fallen off your roof and you've had a major break with a big bone, or whether you've fallen to the sidewalk and you're having a heart attack.
Right.
It's all your health.
Right.
And when you try to divide that up, it doesn't work.
Right.
And in a lot of areas in our country, we're having a real crisis when it comes to emergency care.
Yeah. Well, we have to take another break. When we come back, we're going to get into a little bit more about EMS. We're going to go over one more thing with the public and EMS when we return with Randy Mantooth.
To save